Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into this thing. Got my brother with me today, Chilmont. We're going to be talking about all things basketball. We're going to talk some football. We're going to talk some baseball. We're just going to get into a little bit of everything, but we're going to start out with the Rick Barnes, the accusation that he had cheated back in the day by the St. Louis Post-Gazette.
Dispatch.
Whatever the crap it's called.
Inquisitor or whatever.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the National Enquirer of St. Louis here in just a second. But let's pull up this article and we'll talk about it. All right, folks, here it is. St. Louis Post-Dispatch / National Enquirer says ESPN's Fran Fraschilla accuses Coach Rick Barnes. Says ESPN coach basketball analyst Fran made cheating accusations against Tennessee basketball coach Rick Barnes when he was at Ohio ... Let's see what the article says. Kaboom. Sorry, the page you're looking for cannot be found.
Never mind that.
Yep.
Never mind that man behind the curtain.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Never mind.
Never mind. 403. And just to give you an idea of what happened, this was 15 hours ago when the article came out. Well, 14 hours ago, which is 1 hour after, Fran Fraschilla came out and he said, Rick Barnes has coached for 45 years and does not break rules. Dan Dakic and I were talking trash we usually do about old days in the Big Ten. Very surprised this writer didn't call to clarify until he wrote story. Very disappointed. And here he's got it attached, the cheating accusation on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, again, which has been taken down. So it sounds like what was happening, they were covering a basketball game and they were just talking a little bit of smack in between while they were playing. It's probably a boring game or something. And they picked up on this. And the St. Louis Post-Gazette National Enquirer decided to run the story and didn't check their sources. I guess they just went by what they were saying and didn't confirm that what he meant.
Yeah.
So it might have been misconstrued or something along those lines. But Chilmont's the one that brought my attention to it, and I immediately went to read it, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, it showed up on my Google feed, and I thought, what the heck is this? And clicked on it, and boom, 403. And I was like, okay. Something smells rotten in Denmark here, and it's still not up. I'd love to know what they actually said in the article, but
absolutely, yeah, I was trying to read it because I wanted to see what the crap it was, but because Rick Barnes does not have a reputation for cheating. The man's been coaching for 30 plus. He may have been coaching for 112 years for all we know. It's been forever. He's always been coaching.
Yeah.
So,
and consider one of the cleaner guys out there, really.
Yeah, absolutely. He does not have a reputation for that. And you would think over a 3-decade career, something would have popped up. So it sounds like we had an overzealous reporter that got ahead of his skis and decided to run with something before, really confirming everything. Yep. And that can happen. Look, that was going to be up in St. Louis, Missouri, and that's an article that would be very well received, I'm sure, especially the head coach of the University of Tennessee that they play every year in football and basketball. And that probably played a role, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. And, they got a little hint of something, decided to probably a slow news day, and they decided to make a story out of it and regretted it almost instantly, apparently.
Yeah, that's major clickbait right there, especially a cheating scandal. I mean, that would be huge in the SEC.
Yeah, you better have some corroboration on that before you put out a headline like that, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's obviously not what Fran was trying to say.
Yeah.
The fact they pulled this article down immediately tells me they must not have felt very confident about it because that's pretty rare. Look, newspapers do not like to pull down articles. It's embarrassing, and it hurts their pride.
Sure.
And pride's a big deal in the journalism business. They don't like that because it makes them feel, not good.
Well, that's it. And, that's the kind of thing can get you fired or should get you fired. From, a newspaper or from a news outlet, running with stuff that you have no basis for.
Well, here's the thing. Everywhere I looked on Twitter and I looked everywhere, I couldn't find anybody that had actually read it. I think it got pulled down so quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't have time to get viral clicks like it would have down here in Tennessee because we would have been all over it, and so would a bunch of other Vols people. So I have not found anybody on Twitter that's actually read the article. So I think they got it in time to where there's not really going to be too much damage at all based on it because there's not a lot of people talking about it, which is good. But anyway, I just thought that was very interesting that somebody would just throw that up there a little bit I don't know,
Plus,
haphazard, I guess.
when did he coach at Ohio? That's got to be 30 years ago.
Well, he coached at Texas for 20 years. He's been here for 8 years, so that was 3 decades ago at least.
At least.
I mean,
so,
man.
Yeah, I think the stats, even if he blatantly cheated back then, the statute of limitations is long run out. So, yeah, give me a break.
I don't know if there is a statute of limitations.
There probably isn't, but, yeah, the NCAA will just do whatever they want. But, you know, the fact that it was at least 30 years ago, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was a bit much. Like I said, just somebody probably got overzealous, but it sounds like they got it pulled down in time to where it's not going to be that big a deal.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got our basketball game coming up tomorrow night at midnight or 9:40, which is the same thing to me.
Yeah.
Yep, we got to play Louisiana, and they've got a guy we talked about yesterday, Brown, who is a very good player, former 5-star, scores about 20 points a game, pulls down about 9 rebounds, plays great defense. He's 6'11", 225.
He's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he's going to be the big issue for us. Now, they got some three-point shooters that they'll be looking to use in this game, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think what they're going to try to do is feed the ball inside, and then when the defense collapses, he'll kick it out to the three-point shooters. That's kind of what Missouri did to us.
Yeah. The problem with the Missouri game is Missouri did not miss pretty much the entire second half.
Yeah, they got hot. They went 7 for 11 on three-point shots.
Yeah, they shot like 70% from the field and 100% from the foul line. So, I mean, nobody can win against that.
That's twice they've done that, you know. And the game right after they did that to us, they went like 3 for 20 from three-point line.
Oh, yeah, they're totally cold and got whooped. So,
and that's the thing about basketball. It's so fickle. Now, it's not as fickle as baseball, but it's a very fickle game. That's why usually in the NBA, especially in the playoffs, you've got to win a series because what they don't want is one team getting hot in one game and knocking out the better team. So they'll do 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
Well, in college, March Madness, it's one game. That's a good and bad thing. It means we could beat anybody or anybody could beat us.
Exactly. And you have one cold night and the team you're playing has a hot night. See you next year.
It makes me think of that Purdue game where that Purdue kid, little guard, just was throwing the ball up, literally not even looking, and everything went in for him. It was crazy. And he was like a 30% shooter normally, and he shot like 70% in that game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that can happen in one game.
That's it.
You know, you get hot at the right time, and everything's working for you. So,
oh yeah, somebody will be in the Sweet 16 that has no business being in the Sweet 16, but they just got hot at the right time, and no telling who it was. Hopefully, it's not Louisiana.
I don't think it will be. I think we'll beat this. I think they'll give us a good game. I think it'll be a single-point game, probably under 10 points.
Yep.
I think we'll win 3, maybe as much as 7 points. That's what I'm hoping for, and then we move on and probably play Duke. That or is it Oral Roberts, I believe, is the other team. And they were a Cinderella team. What was it, last year or the year before? I think that was during COVID.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, they could potentially beat Duke, but in all likelihood, assuming we beat Louisiana, we'd be meeting Duke.
Well, didn't Duke win the ACC tournament? They got hot.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they've won a bunch of games. They're really a streaky team right now. So we'll see what happens. We need to focus on Louisiana first.
Yeah, that's it.
But it'll be tough to get past Duke. I'm assuming Duke will beat Oral Roberts. But you never know, man. Yeah. You just never know.
It's anybody's guess. You know, I was debating about filling out a bracket, and I started looking at it, and I was like, I have no clue. Other than, 1 versus 16, or 2 versus 15, it's those closely ranked teams, I have no clue.
Yeah, it'll be tough. Like I said, and it's funny how tournament magic happens.
Oh, I know.
You get hot. But anyway, that's pretty interesting. One other thing we didn't talk about was, Heupel got ranked in the top 25 best coaches.
That's right.
He wound up number 22. And, of course, there was a list of guys that you brought up. It's like he beat 3 or 4 of those guys in the top 10 he beat last year. But what it is, and I've thought about this quite a bit, is that Heupel just doesn't have a long enough history as a head coach in true Power 5 style as far as being at UT. Now, granted, he was at UCF, but really that's borderline down there. A lot of people don't consider that,
I call that
top notch.
I consider that D2 that's in the D1.
Yeah. I mean,
So, and then they're in a much different conference than like the SEC or the Big Ten.
So he's got 2 years under his belt, whereas a lot of these guys have been up here for 15, 20 years and things like that.
But I do think he should be higher ranked than 22, clearly.
Yeah. I was thinking like 15 for him, and I believe he'll work his way up top 10 next year or 2 or 3. With the talent he's got coming in on defense, which has been our Achilles heel. We'll see what, the big issue is we're going to go as far as our quarterback takes us. And Joe Milton played really well in the Clemson game. He didn't play Hendon Hooker well, but he played darn good. Yeah. He was 66% on his passing, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, threw for about 230 yards, and ran the ball a little bit. That's the one thing that I'm still concerned about. The guy can run like the wind. He's 245 pounds, and he's fast.
Yeah, he's like a linebacker running out there.
Yeah, if he could get the feel for running, he could be the most dangerous guy out there because he's got a great arm, and he showed us that he can control it because he maybe overthrew one pass in that game, and I think it was because our guy got held.
Yeah, and he came through when the scrutiny was the highest, when the lights were the brightest on him in the Orange Bowl. He came through. So that shocked me, and we've talked a lot about that. That shocked all of us.
He could not have been under more pressure.
Yeah.
There was so much, and he had a month to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to start after Peyton Manning goes down.
Yeah, it was.
And then Hooker was a generational quarterback as far as his numbers and everything.
Yeah, he threw the ball well, and he threw 4 or 5 passes that are super high NFL quality.
Yeah.
So if his confidence gets built up and he can focus on this running a little bit, he could be very dangerous. We'll see. We've got Nico right behind him, and somebody, what was the name of the guy that wrote this ridiculous article? So they were talking about Nico, and Dennis Dodd, who's, a CBS analyst, was talking about how there are whispers that Nico's not that good and all that kind of stuff. And I did a video on that entire deal. I think I put him in a clown outfit because it's ridiculous. Nobody at the University of Tennessee has said that. What it boiled down to, he's mad that he got the $8 million 3-year deal that's been reported. That's what he's upset about because he doesn't like high school guys getting NIL money. That has nothing to do with whether Nico's going to be good or not. But he decided, hey, you know what? I think I heard a little something. And maybe somebody told him something that he's close to that, knew that he wanted to hear something negative.
Didn't he actually say in the article it was whispers that Nico's not as good as he? And he said, I didn't actually hear the whispers, but I'm going to report them anyway.
Yeah, I think it was just
like really
selective hearing. It's like I don't want him to be good. That way it'll be a flop. And I can go out and they'll stop giving away money to high school players.
And I could say I was right.
Yeah, that's not going to stop it. And he's just an angry old man who doesn't want people to make money.
I'm a grumpy old man. I don't like everything the way it is now compared to the way it used to be.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to.
Get off my lawn, kid.
Yeah, he is the get off my lawn guy. and look, I can totally understand people not liking a high school kid getting that money. I get that, okay? I'm old enough to totally understand that and go, that's not the way it should be. That's not the way the world works. It isn't. You get money a lot of times based on potential, not necessarily what you're going to do. I mean, I can tell you right now, Bryce Young is going to sign a huge contract for probably $30, $40 million based on potential.
And he could be a bust.
And, but he probably won't be.
He probably won't be, but he certainly could be.
Yeah, and so that's what that's going to be based on. And then he'll say, well, yeah, he did great in college. Yeah, well, so did Nico in high school. It's the same thing. It really is.
Well, you're the number 1 player in the country. I mean, come on, in today's NIL world, of course he's going to get big money. Why wouldn't he?
Well, he's a quarterback.
That's it. He's the main number 1 type of player that you want, quarterback.
You're going to get 3 to 4 times the money you would get as a linebacker, edge rusher, cornerback.
Far more.
Quarterback is the big dog. I mean, he touches the ball every time on the offense.
Yeah.
And if he plays well, you're probably going to win. If he plays poorly, you're probably going to lose. That's how important it is. So, of course, he's going to get 4 times the money of anybody else. It's the way it is. And he was the number 1 player in the country. So, at the number 1 position. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's, writers have agendas. Journalists have agendas. Have you ever watched CNN? There's agendas. So I'm not shocked by it, but I am going to call it out. Sorry. All right, now, since we're complaining and we're getting out all our middle-aged complaints that we have, Saban, oh my gosh. What is the deal with a 7-time national champion crying and complaining about having to play us when he's beaten us so many times it's ridiculous. We beat him last year, okay? Finally knocked him out, 52-49 in an epic game, and he couldn't stop us. We scored 52 points on him. So now he wants rules changes, wants to go to the NCAA and get rules changes because he lost one game. That is so Saban, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I have to win every game, and if I don't, something's wrong and the rules have to be changed. I mean, and the thing that kills me about this is if this had happened when we sucked, he would not be saying a word. He'd love to have us on his schedule. He would love to have Tennessee of 5 years ago on his schedule. He would not said a word. I said, oh, that's a pretty good schedule for us, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, it all boils down.
But now we're good again, and oh my gosh, I'm getting cheated.
Yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's Heupel. Heupel's in his head. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
He does not like that offense. It's the same thing Gus Malzahn did to him, and now he's trying to get rules changes, and he's out complaining about the schedule because he doesn't want to play Auburn, who is, you're going to play Auburn.
Yep.
You're at Alabama.
Yeah.
LSU, who he's dominated up until last year, Tennessee, who was dominated up until last year, and now he's mad about it because short term he got hit. And look, you know what? They've got a good coach down there at LSU. They got a good coach at UT. They actually have a good coach at Auburn. He may be seeing the forest for the trees on that. 3 good coaches at places that can recruit.
Yes.
And I think
that's the difference. Being a good coach at a high profile program, you can then do damage.
Yeah.
And he knows that. And for 18 years, we were a doormat for him, and that's when he loved us. And he was so complimentary of us every season when after they'd beat the crap out of us, and he said, boy, they were a really good team, blah, 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 really good coaching, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And how about now? When we
So in other words,
ass?
he's a big phony.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony.
Yeah, he's a phony, no doubt. and the reality is, I've said this for, I guess, since I started this channel. He is Emperor Palpatine, but we finally dealt with him.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
And he doesn't like it. We finally threw him over the thing. And he's coming back with a vengeance. But look, we got to go to Tuscaloosa next year. It's going to be, man, are they going to be waiting for us? I have had so many comments because I have a lot of Alabama folks that watch this channel. I think just they like to hate watch it. And they comment to me, oh, you're going to come down to Tuscaloosa and we're going to get you. They're going to be so fired up for us. It's going to be ridiculous, especially after what we did to them in Neyland. I get it. I do. And it's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
I'm so glad that they're worried about us. Usually they just put a W down before we even show up. And
of course, we all did. Yeah. I did preseason last year. I said, okay, we know we're going to lose to LSU on the road. We definitely know we're going to lose to Alabama.
I had us down losing both those games.
Yeah. And that was the difference in being, 8-4 and 11-2.
Yep. I had us at 9-3 in the regular season, losing to Louisiana, Alabama, and Georgia. And we only lost one of those games. But I had us beating Carolina, obviously. That was the one that creaked us.
Well, I remember saying before the season started, if we go 3-1 the first 4 games, it's going to be a pretty decent season.
Now, I had us at 4-0 because I had to have that win against Pittsburgh as a vengeance game.
Yeah.
And I had to have the win over Florida. That was the most important game to me.
That was me too. When we won that game, and Wilton and I were at that game, and we had a great time. It was an unbelievable win. Who knew that we were going to beat Alabama, and that was the best game. I actually got to smoke a cigar in Neyland Stadium after a win. That was one of the better sports moments of my life. That was incredible. Yeah, that game was awesome. It was something else. So, they're going to be down there waiting on us in Tuscaloosa, and I'm loving that. Hey,
that's what I want. I want it like that when we show up in Tuscaloosa or we show up in Sanford Stadium in Georgia like it was this year. I want them going crazy.
Oh, I guarantee you that game is circled on a lot of people's schedules down in Alabama.
Oh yeah, without question. It's revenge time.
Yep.
And they'll be the same way with LSU, didn't they? They played at LSU, didn't they, when they got beat?
I think so.
Yeah, so they'll have them down circled as well.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be something else.
it's going to be a
This
fun
year.
season. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but it's going to be a fun season. It's going to be exciting to watch. Oh yeah.
All right, folks, and we also want to talk a little bit about baseball after that, weird start of actually losing 2 games. I mean, the Tennessee baseball team doesn't lose 2 games in a row, especially to a non-conference. They really picked it up, and I think they've won like 12 or 13 out of 14. They've really picked up on it. And, of course, they had the whole problem where our manager got suspended for a weekend over the whole Ahuna deal with the NCAA. And then Tony got reinstated. Ahuna got made eligible like that.
Yep.
And I think the reason they suspended Tony just short term was just to be careful because, the NCAA investigation because of the Jeremy Pruitt big dummy situation.
You big dummy.
That we all know about.
Yeah.
And that I think that was just a precaution of, hey, let's just really be careful with the NCAA. And it all worked out for them. But the baseball team seems to be on a nice roll. They're pitching well. They're hitting the ball hard. They're scoring a lot of runs. So we'll see what happens coming up against, I believe, Missouri's their first SEC game.
Yeah, it's this coming weekend. They it's on the road in Missouri, but it's the opening SEC slate there. It'll be a good game. The weather's going to be terrible there. It's going to be freezing cold.
Yeah, the first game's at like 7 o'clock on a Friday, and it's going to be like probably 35 degrees and wind chill.
By the time the game's over, it'll be in the 20s, and that's cold for baseball.
That's real cold.
That's cold for football. They've done great. They won 10-0 to beat somebody the other day. 23-2 the other day.
Was it Lipscomb they beat 10-0?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was last night.
Okay, and of course they whooped up on Morehead State. These are just warm-up games.
Yeah, but they're putting up some good numbers. I don't know if they have the hitting they did last year, but they certainly have the pitching. We've got some great pitching this year.
I don't know if it's even possible to have the hitting they had. Last year was probably the best hitting college baseball team in history. It was unbelievable. Those guys were just beating the ball to death.
Oh, yeah. I went to a couple of games, and there was one there was like 5 home runs, and another one there was 3. It was crazy. They were just sending it out all the time.
Yeah, and Burke's been knocking the crap out of it. I think he's got several home runs. This Ahuna guy is the real deal.
Yeah.
He'll be in the major leagues next year for sure and probably be a first, 5 or 6 picks. He'll be in there without question.
Yeah, we got one guy batting 400 right now after 17 games. So there's still some good hitting going on there.
Yeah, and one thing I do like about college baseball is aluminum bats. That ball comes off that bat like a fire, and it really makes it exciting to watch the defense try to deal with that. I wish they would do that in Major League Baseball. I don't think we'll ever see that because I know the pitchers would be afraid to get knocked.
It's really too dangerous. Those
might
guys
be too
are
dangerous.
So big. I remember talking to a buddy of mine who went to on a baseball scholarship to college, and he said somebody would be killed.
Yeah, it's possible
if they had it in the bigs.
So that's probably why they'll never do that.
Yeah.
But it would be something else to watch. Can you imagine some of those big home run hitters with aluminum bats? I mean, they would make. Oh, it'd be unbelievable.
Imagine Jose Canseco or who was his teammate?
The Bash brothers or whatever they were.
All those guys that were.
Well, they were all roided up.
Oh my gosh, they would be sending balls into orbit.
Yeah, yeah, it would be fun to watch though. Golly.
Oh yeah, there'd be some serious.
You'd probably have to put some sort of face protection for the pitcher, some sort of a helmet type thing, just to protect him, because that'd be the one concern is you don't want him getting hit in the head. But the shortstop and third baseman, it'd be dangerous for them too.
Oh yeah, no question.
But at least they do have a pitch count. Not a pitch count, but a time count on the pitcher and the hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put a shot clock into baseball, so it's not going to be so just the guy's back there messing with his glove for 10 minutes, and the pitcher's up there, doing his whole thing.
And they've got a certain time limit on pitching changes, too, I believe. I went to a ball game the other night with Junebug and a couple of his friends, and all of a sudden we were in the 6th inning. I said, man, this game is going fast. I said, what's going on? And I had not noticed it behind home plate. There was a shot clock. It's like 20-some seconds they've got between pitches, and that's all you've got. And I don't know what the penalty is. If
well, you get a strike.
Okay,
you get a strike if you're the hitter, and you get a ball if you're the pitcher. If you're not on the mound pitching within a certain number of seconds. Same thing with the batter. And they're doing that they did it in the minor leagues for a few years. Now they're doing it in the major leagues. And they started it in the preseason, and they actually ended a game on that.
Yeah.
It was down to 2 outs, and it was like a 1-run game, and the guy didn't get in the batter's box, and the umpire said, "Game over. You're struck out." And they're trying to be rough on them in the preseason, so when they get in the regular season, they won't have to call a ball game over something stupid like that.
Yeah. And they may need to make some kind of adjusting rule so in the ninth inning they're not going to end a game on it. Or
Yeah,
something.
that would not be the way to end a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
You-
40,000 people in there would lose their minds.
Yeah, there'd be 8,000 beer cans on the field.
But I can see why they're doing it in the preseason.
Yeah,
Because they're like, look, we need to make this penalty very brutal on them and call it incredibly tight, so when we get in the regular season, they'll be used to it.
yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure they've told them that.
But there's, I remember thinking, say, God, this is great. It's been a great ball game, but we got through here. We're not here all half the night, and it worked out great. I think they ought to do it in the major leagues, big time.
Well, when I watched baseball we used to watch the Braves all the time. Our father was always, get the Braves, get the Braves. It didn't matter what time of the year it was.
January.
It could be any time of the year when there was no baseball. He would always say, get the Braves.
Yep.
When we're sitting there messing around with the TV. So we watched it forever. And in the 80s and 90s, it didn't bother me that it was so slow. But I quit watching it at some point because I just got bored with it.
It's too long.
Yeah, and it's just too much crapping around. The guy messing with his glove before he gets into the batter's box, it's like, I just don't want to watch that.
The pitcher messing around on the mound.
It's up there writing a book.
Too many warm-ups, and then forever when there's a pitching change.
Yep. And I do like the little box they've got in there so you can see if the umpire's wrong on a strike zone.
Yeah, that's been a huge help too.
I'm actually surprised they haven't moved to that because it's really weird when the ball is thrown outside that box and the guy calls a strike and you're going, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We know that's wrong. We've got replay in college football and college and professional football. Why don't they have something to fix that problem in baseball? But
I think eventually they'll have some kind of a sensor like they do in tennis now. They have the sensor
that would be good
for the out of bounds.
And the umpire could hear it.
Yeah, and you can't complain to the machine.
Yeah. Yeah, because they did that in tennis. That used to be, that killed McEnroe.
Oh, God.
That killed his game.
It did.
Half his game was getting mad.
Yeah, and messing with the other player.
Oh, yeah, and really disrupting what the other guy was doing and trying to upset him by getting angry and going after the umpire.
Him and Connors and all those guys
Yeah,
were
Connors
major disruptors.
Yeah, Connors was a little
he was a
bitch too.
Oh, yeah. He was as bad as Saban, almost.
Yep. All right, folks, we just wanted to cover a little bit of everything in this video, and I think we've done that. Let's look forward to that game tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Chilmont and I, Sports Talk Jay.